This is Kuru Fasulye, a stew made with white beans. While Turkey doesn't have an official national dish, Kuru Fasulye is often considered as one. There are many great recipe videos for Kuru Fasulye. In any recipe that doesn't use a pressure cooker, it's recommended to soak the beans in water overnight. But what happens if you cook the beans directly, without soaking them first? And how long do they take? In this video, I compare two methods. The traditional one, where the beans are soaked before cooking, and another, where they are used dry. Let's get started. Salam, Nail here. There are many local bean varieties used for Kuru Fasulye. I usually go for Dermason beans, but this time I chose Horoz beans, because I haven't cooked with them before and wanted to see how they turn out. I soaked 300 grams of beans in salted water overnight, and this is what they look like now. Next to them I have another 300 grams of beans from the same package, but these were only rinsed. I'm cooking both stews using the exact same recipe. The only difference, the unsoaked beans will be pre-cooked in salted water before I prepare the actual dish, since they likely take longer to soften. I want to find out exactly how much longer. The soaked beans, on the other hand, don't need this step and go straight into the pot with the other ingredients. So I start by placing the unsoaked beans in a pot with water and bring them to a boil. After the first 15 minutes, once the water is boiling properly, I change the cooking water. This helps reduce foam and makes the dish easier to digest. That's because the cooking water contains compounds released from the beans, such as proteins and starches that create foam, as well as indigestible oligosaccharides which can cause bloating. After replacing the water, I add salt to the fresh cooking water and let the beans simmer over medium heat. Meanwhile, I start preparing the soaked bean version. First, I saute the meat in a bit of neutral vegetable oil. Once it develops some color, I add a diced onion. When the onion turns translucent, I stir in a heaping tablespoon of tomato paste and another of pepper paste. Next, I add 2 crushed garlic cloves. As soon as I catch that sweet garlic aroma, I deglaze everything with a peeled and grated tomato and mix in the tomato. Then add the beans. I give everything a good stir. Whether this actually affects the cooking process, I'm not sure, but it just feels right. The only thing left is the liquid. I use plain water, but broth would add an extra layer of flavor. One final stir to keep anything from sticking to the bottom of the pot, and we're good to go. If you prefer a thicker consistency, simply use less liquid. Personally, I don't like it when there's too little broth, since I love dipping my bread into it. Kuru Fasulye is one of those dishes that taste even better the next day as the flavors develop further. So it's definitely worth making a larger batch if you're short on time the next day. Now for the spices. I keep it simple: salt, pepper, paprika powder and a bay leaf. If you like, you can add a bit of cumin, it helps reduce bloating. And for those who enjoy some heat, a dry chili or chili flakes work great here. Here too, some foam forms on the surface, which I simply skim off. Now I let everything simmer over medium heat until the beans are nice and soft. It's best to stir as little as possible to keep the beans whole. This makes for a better presentation, and as they say, we eat with our eyes first. I'll let you know in a moment how long the beans took to cook. Let's start with the unsoaked ones. After an hour and a half, they are soft enough to be processed just like the soaked beans. Here's a quick recap. Brown the meat, add the onion, stir in the tomato and pepper paste, press in the garlic, deglaze with a grated tomato. Then add the beans along with their cooking water. I can already tell that some beans have broken apart and lost their shape, even though they are not fully cooked yet. I stir gently and then add the spices: salt, pepper, paprika powder and a bay leaf. The unsoaked beans took an additional 30 minutes to reach that pleasant creamy texture, soft but not mushy. I timed both cooking durations with a stopwatch. Now let's compare the results side by side. On the left, we have the soaked beans. On the right, the unsoaked ones. The soaked beans took a total of 1 hour and 30 minutes to cook, while the dry beans needed 2 hours. Honestly, that's not a huge difference. Compared to the Dermason beans I usually use, these Horoz beans actually cooked a bit faster. Dermason beans typically take me around 2 hours, even when soaked. So in terms of time, soaking overnight doesn't make a massive difference. But here comes the but. In terms of texture and taste, I definitely prefer the soaked version. Don't get me wrong, both versions taste great, but the soaked beans are just better. Many of the unsoaked beans cracked or fell apart early on. I suspect that the rapid swelling during cooking weakened their structure. I also think that the salt might play a role on a cellular level, somehow strengthening the beans and preventing them from splitting too easily. Of course, this could vary depending on the bean variety. Not every type reacts the same. What do you think? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. When it comes to the eating experience, I definitely prefer the soaked beans. It's just more satisfying to let a whole, ideally cooked creamy bean melt on your tongue. As for the flavor, the liquid in both stews tastes equally good, since I used the same recipe. However, the beans themselves are where the difference lies. The soaked beans are nicely salted on the inside, providing a wonderful burst of flavor with each bite. The unsoaked beans, on the other hand, taste a bit milder. They are not bad, but when compared directly, they just can't compete with the more flavorful soaked beans. If I didn't have a direct comparison, I probably wouldn't miss anything. But I don't live in the hypothetical, so the soaked beans are definitely the clear winner in this comparison. I have to admit, it was a really cool experience to just try this out. So what's my conclusion? All the recipes that recommend soaking, I think they're right. At least for this variety. Yeah, I definitely recommend soaking the beans in salted water beforehand. The bread for today is a homemade pide, and if you want to see the really simple and practical recipe for it, click here. Thank you for watching, and peace be upon you.